Back inside with post-game coverage here. Matt Weiner and Joe Borgia joins us, the Senior Vice President of Referee and Replay Operations. And Joe, obviously everybody is talking about there's a fair amount of confusion concerning the call that led to 2 Kevin Durant free throws, which tied this game at 104 apiece. Initially, Durant was called for a charge. The play was then reviewed and reversed. And if you can, explain to fans out there why that was allowable and why they ultimately changed their mind.
Well, Matt, in the last 2 minutes of the fourth period, or the last 2 minutes of an overtime, we have a trigger to use replay if the officials have doubt whether a defender is inside or outside of the restricted area. Now, this is a bang-bang play. You got James, coming over, but you also have Green coming in. And by the time the play is over, sort of the defenders are all laying in the restricted area. So there was some doubt. So they decided to come to replay to see where James was. Now, one of the reviewable matters once they're at replay is whether James was in a legal guarding position, or if an offensive player, if Durant maybe did something illegal, maybe with an extended foot. And what the decision was with Mike Callahan here in the replay center, along with Kenny Maurer on the court, who called the offensive foul, that James was not in a legal position. He was still sliding to his left when Durant started his upward motion. Therefore, the call was overturned to a blocking foul.
All right, I don't want to belabor the point here, but I think folks are confused about what can and can't be reviewed. The trigger allows the referees to assess whether or not the defender is inside or outside the restricted area, but it also opens up a menu of other reviewable elements of the play, correct?
You are absolutely correct. So the trigger is the restricted area. Was he in or out? And then once you are there, you can look at whether the defender's in or out, but you can also look whether they are in a legal position or if the offensive player did anything illegal. And if you look at that play again, you're going to see Green also coming in. His foot actually stepped in the restricted area. So you sort of have 1 foot in the restricted area, and then you got LeBron's 2 feet on a bang-bang play that is critical to the game. And hence, like I said, that's where I think some doubt came in with the officials, which they said, listen, let's make sure we get this play right. He's in the restricted area or not. Let's go to replay. And while they were there, they decided, you can see James clearly moving over to his left. He gets his left foot down, but he shifts his shoulders one whole body length, which then put him he would have been legal. Listen, it's a tie at best, and ties are blocking fouls.
So, Joe, this is Isaiah. Here's my question, okay? We watch Kenny underneath the basket, and I clearly see a check down. I see him hold off. I see him take a look at Brothers, and I see a check down before he gives the charge signal call, and then it's reviewed. Explain the check down review to me.
Okay, so you have 2 whistles on the play, and anytime we have 2 whistles, you always want the officials to look at each other and try through experience determine maybe who has the best angle on the play. And if you look at it, Tony Brothers appeared to be going with a blocking foul. It looks like he started to bring his arms up, which, Isaiah, you know what's next. They're going to come down for a block. So Kenny looked out, heard his whistle, and slowed up, and Tony stopped. And at that point, Kenny, I'm presuming, now, listen, I haven't had a chance to talk to the refs, said, okay, I think I got the better angle. I am going to go with offensive foul. And then Eddie Malloy, the slot ref, came over and started questioning the restricted area because I think he saw Green's foot in the restricted area. Maybe wasn't sure whose it was. So, listen, it's a tough, bang-bang play, but 2 officials, anytime you blow whistle. Listen, you don't want one guy going block, one guy going offense. You don't want that. That's the blarge.
Well, again, here's the confusion, because at the end, right, as we see the signal, and this is what confuses everybody, bam, right there, we see the charge call, okay? We see the charge, ball's going the other way. That's where the confusion comes in. So there was a check down, there was a pause, and then we get the call.
And then we get replay.
And now we get the replay. But I think in the building, in the arena, and everything else, and on the Cavs bench, and even myself, I thought the charge had been called, and now you say that you go to review. And this is the first time I've ever seen it kind of happen this way, but it happens, I guess.
Well,
Right, you had a call on the court made, and now they're allowed to come to replay to get the play right, which is what happened. So the process worked.
so my question is, you know, as we see the play, and you kind of explained it eloquently. First, I think it's a bad rule in the sense that it has so much after the fact. To me, that's just my personal opinion. But I think overall, how far can you go? If it was a goaltending in the block in charge, can you have seen if the basket should count? Could you have seen if, you know what, before the play, he had offensive fouled or traveled? How far can you go inside the block of charge to review? Once the block in charge happens, anything precedes that doesn't count, or anything after? How far after can you go?
Well, Kenny, this is why the rules are very confusing, but it's very restricted, this rule, and the trigger is doubt of whether he was in the restricted area or not. Then you're allowed to look at the legality of the play. Now, you want to talk goaltending? Guess what? We're in the last 2 minutes of the game. If they ruled goaltending on the play, that would become reviewable. Traveling is never a reviewable matter. So, you know, the replays are very restrictive of how far back you can go, and on this play, it's just the legality of that offensive player. Listen, if Tristan Thompson reached in and, you know, fouled him on his side, the refs didn't see it, you can't rule that during replay. This was strictly between Durant and James on the block charge, restricted area, and the legality of those two players.
All right, Joe, thanks for sorting through all that.
Wait
for
a
us.
minute. Hold on. Wait.
We don't want him to go.
Wait
That's
a minute. So you saying if Tristan Thompson had reached in and fouled him,
that would have been reviewable.
that wouldn't have
That's
been
not
reviewable?
No, not
It's
reviewable.
not reviewable. Hey, Isaiah, come on. You were on the competition committee with us for a while.